Anthony, I think today is going to be a capital show.
A capital morning to you. I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Yeah, baby, I got my groove on. We got Anthony Melchiori back in the house. Of course, I'm Glenn Hausman. Anthony, my friend, so great to see you. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, my friend.
Yeah?
My daughter's ACL surgery went well. I was just texting my daughter, I'm going to bring her watermelon ice after the show.
Oh, that's really nice. All right. And as you know, yesterday, Anthony wasn't with us because he puts his family ahead of all of us over here. So good move on that one.
Well, I think everybody does, right? I always tell people you can't have two first priorities.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I've been working really hard to put the family first over this last year. You know what? I kind of like it.
You've been cooking up a storm, brother.
I have. I'm worrying about what I'm going to make tonight. I think we've got SAT tutors going on, 1 at 6, 1 at 7. So I think I got to go with a one-pot meal. I may go with jambalaya. I may go with chili. I don't know. Put your suggestions on what I should make for dinner in the comment section as everyone is joining.
Pasta vazul.
I like the pasta vazul. All right. So Anthony, it's funny. We've been talking a whole lot about the problems that employers are having right now finding staff in hospitality. And we're going to be speaking with Pranav Bhakta in just a second of Bhakta Capital, talking about what's going on with money in the industry, where opportunities are, and all that kind of stuff. But it's important for us, again, to address what's going on with this labor crisis that's out there. Anthony, you had sent me an article a few days ago. We've been talking about this offline. I saw somebody posted on Facebook this political cartoon here right now. $330 a week unemployment assistance versus $400 a week, but must have a bachelor's, 12 years experience, no felony conviction, 750 credit score, be available 24 hours a day, and we can terminate you whenever it's convenient to us. This was in a hotel industry group of workers. And I got to tell you, looking at this, it really shows the sentiment that a lot of them are fed up.
Well, I listen, I think there's a reason to be fed up for low wages, long hours, and managers not maybe respecting people. If you're in a good environment, if managers are respecting you, it's not about the paycheck, it's about a career. So if this is a paycheck for you, I can understand why you would get on that line and just collect the money. If this is a career for you, it's a bad decision to wait. Right. But unfortunately, we have a lot of people looking for jobs in our industry that really don't see it as a career. So that's really what we need to do. We need to start focusing in on our selling point as this is a career. This isn't like I'm telling my daughter who's getting into the business. And I was like, you can't look at this as you're working 5-6 days a week and, working long hours and the pay isn't great. You can't look at it that way. You got to look at it as this is my career. It's like, a doctor in residence, when he's in residence or she's in residence and they're working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're making no money. They're not looking at the residency. They're looking at what's the long-term, goal.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. But I also think this serves as a great wake-up call for all of our hotelier friends out there. You've survived the worst, and now you've got this big challenge out there. But listen, the people are restless out there. They don't feel that they are getting a fair shake when it comes to being employed out there. And I know a lot of you think you've got a great culture and you're doing the right thing. But I'm seeing a lot of these. Comments out there. One person said that they thought this cartoon was accurate. She went to an interview yesterday at another hotel. She's currently working at one hotel and looking for best hours. She talked to the GM while waiting, and that GM was complaining about how she's working doubles because they're so short-staffed and she's exhausted. But when she asked how much she was being paid at her other job, she said $14.50. She freaked. She's like the highest paid front desk agent who's been here 12 years, doesn't even make $13.50. She left. Also, another front desk supervisor was offered $10.50 for an hour. She said she's seeing signs at McDonald's. You could go down the road, get $1,000 signing bonus, free food, and have better pay. So,
and that's what it comes down to. You can't have a front desk agent who's not a tipped employee make $10 an hour and expect great customer service. Those days are over. It's over. That's it. You lost the wage battle. Okay, we lost the wage battle. And that's just what it is. And if you're going to pay $10 an hour, we're having this concern in my own business, and we're making decisions, and it's gonna hurt us on the bottom line. But do we want to play this game? for $1 or $2? Do we want to play
Right.
this game? It's like, well, we're going to lose 5% to 10% to the bottom line, or do we want to kind of focus on our customer, focus on getting our rates up, and focus on a good quality experience? So it's over. The employees won the salary battle, and now you got to pay properly because Dunkin' Donuts is now paying $15 an hour.
That's absolutely right. I think we're going to see a lot of inflation, wage inflation, price inflation, but people are going to be paid more. And I think we're right now at the point of the hospitality industry, Anthony. You nailed it. The battle has been lost. There's just a lot of hoteliers out there haven't yet acknowledged that's the truth.
Yeah, but a lot of those owners, I'm going to call them, I'm not going to say general manager, owners. They've lost the battle for years, but they got away with it. And they haven't looked at it in the right way. They looked at it, let me get the lowest wages possible. Let me keep the standards as high as possible. And they have no choice but to have a job. I never, ever, 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 ever felt that way since the day I was born into this business. So it's just a wrong philosophy. You have to, as Suzanne, our producer, says, you have to be the employee of choice in your area 100%. And again, it's everywhere. It's every career field, especially in the hotel business and especially in the restaurant business. You've got to make people want to come to work in the morning.
Right. That's right. And that article you had sent me was all about how we're seeing signs all over the place that people can't find employees to work. So hopefully we're going to get out of this situation soon enough, but realize we got to pay our.
We won't get out of this situation soon enough. Even after the 330, this is what's happening. Right now, we're doing a talk show, a radio show, and a TV show all in once. Technology. Kids are trying to make a living online for either with Bitcoin, whether it be with YouTube, whether it be with TikTok. They're doing Uber Eats. They're doing Uber. People working at Amazon getting good benefits. So there's so many more choices for people. And one of the things this pandemic showed us is people are really enjoying their flex time. I spoke to a friend of mine who's a real high-powered real estate attorney in the city, and he said, I can't get people to come back to the office. We're going to open our office by the end of the summer. And people are like, well, I'm sorry, but I only want to work 2 days a week in the office and I'll work the rest from home. Like, well, it's not going to work like that. We're going to work 4 days a week in the office and 1 day from home. Like, yeah, that's a no for me, dog. They're not going to do that.
So either the employees are going to have to change or the employers are going to change. And like that episode of Seinfeld, feels like the employees have got hand in that relationship right now.
Listen, I always think the employees are in charge, just like the guests are in charge. The general manager and the owners think they're in charge. But as soon as employee or customer goes somewhere else, who's in charge? So it's been a fallacy that employees are in charge. It's just about the bravery of the employee and what they're able to tolerate, and also what their cash flow is. I just hope, when is this $330 unemployment thing going away?
A lot of the states are already cutting it out. It's supposed to end, I think, July 1st.
Listen, I think at this point schools are done because of the summer. So there's childcare. You can work from home if you need to. If you're working in a hotel, the hotel should really be looking at childcare. We're looking at it right now to kind of supplement childcare. So there's a lot of different ways you can make an employee's life easier, but the 330, it was a tool, and now the tool needs to go back in the toolbox.
That's right.
You have to work for that. That's based on our country's philosophy. You work for what you get.
Right. Producer Suzanne is saying that many states are offering the return to work bonus plans. I like that idea. But what do you think of this, Anthony? On our show on May 13th, where we featured Peter Ritchie of FAU and Jeremy Nichols of Gecko Hospitality, a recruiting firm, we were talking about the whole notion of that replacement cost. Every time you lose an employee, it could be something like $4,500, give or take. So if you keep having to replace people because you're not paying enough, it's probably costing you more than if you just raised your wages to be more competitive and create an environment where people feel like they're being paid what they deserve.
Listen, I don't even look at it that way. I look at it as brain power loss. If I am dealing with bad customer, bad employees don't want to be there, employees that feel underpaid, my whole feeling of being and running a hotel is off. I just talked to someone that's going to get paid a little bit less than a person that's basically going to report into them. And I explained, you don't have the experience in your position. I'm taking an opportunity with you. This other person has a lot of experience in their position. In order to get this person, I've got to pay a little bit more than is in the budget, and I'm willing to do that. Are you willing to be comfortable with it?
Right.
And they said they are, and I really believe they are, based on my interviews with them, based on the opportunity they're walking into, and based on just my feel of people. Normally I wouldn't do that, but you got to do what you got to do to get the best people. Don't nickel and dime people, man. Just don't do it.
Yeah, that's right. Jeremy,
because listen, that 5%. Well, let's call 3% in wages that you have to improve, maybe in one area. Okay, if that's the difference between you losing your hotel or you keeping your hotel, you probably should sell your hotel anyway. Because the pandemic is over. The cities are going to do better by September, October, November. The shore and the mountain hotels, they're doing gangbusters. So what are we doing, man?
Yep. All right. I love it. Colleen is saying she's also getting the second Moderna shot tomorrow. Good luck with that, Colleen. Biden is sending $300 a month to the end of the year for each child, $275 for high income. I don't understand the nuances of that and why that seems to be happening. I think people, at least at the income level that I have, I don't really think I deserve to get that money back. There's just no need for it right now. Although I wish I did have the income level of a lot of other people I get to talk to out there. Anthony, are you ready to talk a little about money, talk a little bit about capital, talk a little bit about investing in hotels? Because I know you got a flair for that these days, don't you?
I'm worried about everything. But most importantly, what I'm worried about? This is what I'm worried about. I want to, before we bring in our guest, everybody's got to take a breath. And everybody's got to understand where we were last year. We've already forgotten about it. I already see how people are acting. I already see how people are on social media. I already see how my own friends are. They're right back at it. Man, there's not a moment that goes by. I'm just like, oh, thank God I can go out without my mask. Oh, thank God I can, sit by my pool and have friends over. Thank God I can take a bike ride without worrying I'm going to die because somebody passes me. Thank God I can go to the subway. It's like we need to really stop. Remember I told you it's going to go right back to normal that quick, and I said that months ago.
Oh yeah, man.
It's going back even faster than I anticipated. So
much faster than I anticipated.
So everybody's got to really. Well, I'm not going to tell anybody what they need to do. I'm just telling you what I'm doing, and what I am doing is I am grateful for everything. I worked in the restaurant last night to pick up some food, and it was packed.
Yep.
And the employees were wearing the mask. I wore my mask in. It seemed like the employees were in, so I wore it, but they said, yeah, I can take it off if I want to. It's just like everybody's just got to be grateful that we got here, that technology allowed us for a vaccine, whether you get it or whether you don't get it, but that we're kind of going past a lot of the hurdles that we had. And I'm just living in tremendous gratitude.
Speaking of something to be have a lot of gratitude about, I don't know if you saw the story yesterday, June 1st, Clark County, that's where when we colloquially think of Las Vegas, that's where it actually is located, dropping everything pretty much. There might be still mask stuff here and there, but they're going back to pre-pandemic restrictions on June 1st.
Well, like I said before, no other city got it better than Vegas.
Yeah,
they closed first, they opened first, and now they're taking on. I mean, again, person's been to Vegas 4 times this year. I'm just really proud of the way they're going about their business. And again, if you don't want to go to Vegas, don't go to Vegas. I'm vaccinated. I'm going to Vegas the first way I can. We're going in June, aren't we? Aren't we going in June?
I think we should go to Vegas in June for a week of shows from different resorts. That's what
What day are we going?
The first show would be June 21st. June 21st would be.
Okay, so I gotta tell my team that one of our hotel openings, I gotta push that back a little bit.
All right, let's talk money. Let's bring in our guest, Anthony. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Bringing into the show, Mr. Pranav Bhakta of Bhakta Capital. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. I was pretty insightful. Thanks, Anthony and Glenn, for having me. Piggybacking off what you guys were talking about in terms of the labor issue, I think we all know that there's going to be a significant structural change in the operating model as a direct result of COVID, right? And it's really going to be about how we can, A, retain employees, 2, get employees back in a a less cost efficient way. I know owner operators that, haven't made a bed for 20 years because, they got a couple of million in the bank account and they're doing well and they built, 5 to 8 hotels. But guess what? During this labor shortage issue, they went back and started cleaning rooms again, right? So, and that's how bad it is.
Well, this is what I think. This is my philosophy as a person that's been in the trenches for 33 years. And it's not a politically correct statement, but it's true. Owners have not appreciated, by and large, my experience, have not appreciated their employees. And I'm not talking about the fancy hotels. I'm not even talking about the 4-star hotels. I'm talking about these mom and pop 3-star hotels, 2-star hotels on the side of the road. They have not, I've seen too many people not being respected or taken care of in my career, whether it be on Hotel Impossible or on my consulting business. And it's about time we really understand that the human beings run this hotel. And the reason you got a couple $1 million in the bank is because of that young lady who you were paying $7 an hour because you could, but you can't do it anymore. So it's time to get your head out of your butt and be comfortable with your millions in your bank, but you got to take care of people. And so listen, I can talk freely. I'm not, I can do whatever, I can say whatever the hell I want and people can be pissed off at me, but I'm sick and tired of owners taking advantage of employees. Again, I'm just talking about those, everybody knows what I'm talking about, those mom and pops that are taking advantage of people, whether you're in the big cities, whether you're in small cities. And it's just time, it's just time to really appreciate our housekeepers. And people talk about the unions in New York City or LA and they destroy the hotels because it's so expensive to run your unions, but they're making a really good wage and they got good benefits and they're being taken care of and respected.
Yeah. Pranav?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's, it's the front level staff. It's the behind the scenes employees that really make this hospitality business come alive. It's a people business. We all know that, but it's people all the way down, all the way to the top, right?
The people on the way down are a lot more important than people on top.
Yeah, and I agree. And remember, what's the word in hospitality, right? It's about being hospitable, right? Mm-hmm. And that means that we got to be hospitable not only to our guests, but more importantly, our workers, right? Our labor. And it's about not only building a culture of that and doing that, but again, showing them monetary value of what they bring to the table. So money talks, right? We all know money talks. So put your money where your mouth is. Respect these workers across the board. And again, there needs to be structural changes that need to happen, whether it's from brand initiated saying, okay, we're going to let go of X, Y, and Z because you can focus your hard-earned money on your employees and getting the right front level staff to do the front desk or to do the housekeeping.
I like to see brands stop placating and stop whining and dining these owners that own 10, 20 hotels, and like to see them focus a little bit more on frontline employees, back of the house employees, and really have systems in place to hold owners accountable for how they treat their employees. Now, I know there's rating systems and all that, but in a real way. And I think it's getting better. I think it's gotten better over the years. But let's talk about capital. Where are we? Hold
on, Anthony, but I got to ask.
Don't ever interrupt me, Glenn.
No, I know we're going to talk about capital, but I got to ask him one question on this one topic before we go. Pranav, you said at the very beginning that there are a lot of hoteliers out there. They worked hard. They earned their money. They haven't been cleaning rooms. They've been forced back into that. Do you think because they are now going back and doing these jobs, they maybe have a newfound respect and might have forgotten being so far removed from all of that manual hard labor?
Yeah, look, we all know the story, right? America is the land of opportunity. A lot of my community came here in search of that and were quite successful. We put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in the early days of motel ownership, getting back into growing the brands, getting in the segmentation, going into deeper markets, more lifestyle-oriented product, right? So we all evolved, right? And we did put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears working. I used to pick up cigarette butts. I used to drive, with my brother to all our competitors. The SDR was how many cars you had in your parking lot, right?
When you say your community, just explain your community, the Indian community.
Yeah, the Indian community, exactly. South Asian Indian community. that really came here to, again, live out the American dream. Worked really hard to do that, but it's, again, now about time to give back to that, give respect, right, to the whole org chart of a hotel, like I said, top down, right? And I think they have, right? And the guys that I know that, I've had these conversations with said, Pranav, this is really real, right? The labor shortage problem. And because of that, I mean, we rolled up our sleeves again and got back to work. And then obviously the next question, as Glenn said, is, now, do you respect that level of work more so? I think so, right? Because things in the past are not forgotten. We all know what we've done to get to where we are, but sometimes we need gentle reminders, right, Anthony? And I think you nailed it there. It's just we need to be cognizant of that again, right?
Well, because in the community, and I want to make this statement, is that because of the hard work you put in, and because of kind of how the brands look at your community, whether through AHOA and other organizations, you're given a tremendous amount of respect because you've earned it, because you've worked really, really hard and you've demanded it over years. And I think that the Indian community has done more for the hotel industry than really any community. And what I love to see is the first generation was giving way to the second generation, a little bit more creative, a little bit less expense driven, a little bit more revenue driven. And now the third generation, it's growing into that. And it's really been an incredible thing to see in my career, to really see that third generation really kind of focusing in on the 4-star hotels, and kind of, because you wouldn't see those 4.5, 5-star hotels really in the Indian community until the last, 5, 10, 15 years. So It's really great at how it's evolved and what you've done. I don't think that's said enough about what the Indian community has done for the hospitality industry.
Forget the hospitality industry. I think the Indian American community is one of the most incredible American success stories that there are, period. The fact that so many individuals came over and around the late 60s, 1970s, had nothing, all worked with each other, cleaning rooms themselves, living and cooking in the hotel, raising their families in the hotel, and now commanding more than half of ownership of all hospitality properties in the United States. Phenomenal, absolutely incredible. My hat's off to everybody. Pranav,
I like how scared executives and brands get when the Indian community is pushed off.
You guys aren't distracted by good Bollywood entertainment.
Yeah, don't piss off AHOA.
Yeah. No, are you second or third generation?
So I am second.
Okay. So your family came here, they opened a hotel.
My father came here. We bought a motel in Palm Desert, right? Tertiary market. So, I'm a big narrative storytelling guy. So you got to understand the psyche, right?
Yeah, connected to how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, exactly. So, why did we come here, right? Hotels or motels offered not only a place to live, but it also offered an operating business, right? And more times or less, it also had some more vacant land where we can, grow certain vegetables that we like from our, from India. So it was a little mini ecosystem, right? And it was a place to live. It was a place to work. It was real estate, and we all love real estate, especially Indians. So it provided just that. And we also have to see, where was the hotel industry at large, right? That was the cusp of the highway system and franchising, and we were there at the right time, at the right place, right, to grow in the trajectory, i.e. evolution of the hotel business.
Right.
And so it provided just that. But what I loved most about it is the kinship structure of how we were first brought here from our elder generation that came before. Started, we had our own little way of, raising capital, right? For these motel acquisitions. Obviously, the SBA really helped us in the early days in terms of, getting into bigger hotels. So we're all, grateful for not only the government system of providing these business administration loans, but also our kinship community for helping us, raise capital, bring in other people to be managers, giving them some equity so they can build their wealth. They would then go buy their own little motel, and the story evolved. It's a multiplier effect situation, right? And that's how we got from 0 to 50% of all ownership group, because of the kinship of the community. Let me be very clear, right? And so I am grateful for all of that, right? For that community that has grown out of this.
I mean, you guys are such a community. Everybody is a cousin, either literally or figuratively, in parlance of Indian American speak. So it seems to me you were raised in this atmosphere. You came from that hotel atmosphere, and then, like so many other second and or third generation people, now you're taking that beyond. You're looking at investment opportunities. You're looking at capital, all of that kind of stuff. So set the stage for us. What's the situation right now with capital in the industry? Where are we at? Where is investing today as we stand here in mid-May 2021?
Yeah, so I can, I talk from experience and not theory, right? So what I've sort of gathered over the last, say, 18 months of COVID and sort of into recovery, at the onset of COVID, I had a few hypotheses, right? One of them was distress was not going to come. So there was a lot of institutional capital being raised, dry powder, waiting for distress to literally fall on their laps, which never happened, right? So RTC 2.0 never happened, right? And I already was sort of seeing that because I know how owners were going to fight tooth and nail to protect equity, right? That 25, that 35, that 45%. I know lenders were not going to be in a position to just relinquish assets, fire sales, just to clean up balance sheet. No way. And so guess what? People held on. People got creative. Rescue capital came in terms of the bigger players, right? Oak Tree Capital put out a lot of rescue capital very strategically, if I may add. But what basically happened is, okay, then I know that our industry is resilient. That much I know, right? This is my third downturn I've navigated.
Hold on. Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
One of the things we talked about in the beginning of the pandemic was, this is in 2008. Most of these hotels are kind of financed correctly. They're financed properly, and people are sitting on a lot of cash. So it is not the same as 2008. So we kind of projected that in the beginning of the show a year ago. We knew there wasn't going to be, we didn't think there would be a fire sale unless this went on for another year. But we predicted that for a year or so, people will hold on, because in 2008, if this happened, you'd lost the whole industry.
Oh, yeah. So you guys were right on too, right?
That's not about being right. It's just about, it's a different time. Exactly. So thank God they were able to hold on, because we did learn a lesson. It's about learning lessons from generation to generation. So in 2008, your family and other families have learned that did not go in with monopoly money, because monopoly money is not real.
Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, it's, distress never happened. And so what I knew is that our hospitality industry is resilient, right? People are going to travel again. You cannot rely on Zoom for business meetings. You cannot, and there's pent up demand, cabin fever. So leisure is going to come back. So I made a couple of predictions, and that's how I leverage big data to make sort of more wiser hotel investments, right? So we all knew that non-discretionary demand would come back first. And that's exactly what happened. It filled extended stay product, and Woodspring Suites, Extended Stay America, all those brands were doing rock solid because non-discretionary demand, right? Traveling nurses, construction that was still ongoing, were still staying at these types of hotels. So that demand came back first. Second was drive to rubber leisure demand, right? Rubber markets. And that sort of came back. There was a ton of displacement of demand occurring, right? Scottsdale and Sedona is not supposed to have, $800 room nights in February, which it did, right? Miami is not supposed to have what rates they have currently, beachside hotels, because that's just an anomaly because of the pent-up demand, and those markets were open compared to, say, Palm Springs, which was shut, right? So displacement of demand. So leisure demand came back. But third, which is the most stable, is demand from infrastructure, transportation, and logistics. Because we all know during COVID, e-commerce took off, goods and services were still being moved. I don't care what you buy online, it still has to be physically delivered to the end user, the buyer, right? So where is Amazon putting their fulfillment center? Where are the sub-industrial centers being built to support that fulfillment center? Where is the middle route between two large MSAs with in and out migration patterns between, say, California and Texas, or Texas and Florida, right? Or New York to Florida. So where is that happening, right? So we said, let's focus on recovery and let's go out to every single hotel in a recovering market that has that third demand sort of bucket, right? And what we did is proactively market to these guys. So my acquisition strategy is proactive acquisitions, which means I did a drip email campaign to about 6,500 hotel owners for the propensity for disposition, because I knew those hotels, Hamptons, Spring Hills, Fairfields, upper mid-scale brands in those types of market where they're the top performer in that market, are well insulated plays, right?
Right.
In terms of a recovery. So we proactively marketed to them, and today, we have a pipeline of mainly off-market hotel deals, which is pretty nice to have, because a lot of one hotel that I have under contract, it's already back to 2018, 2019.
So how many hotels you have in the pipeline right now?
I couldn't hear you there, Anthony.
How many hotels you have in the pipeline?
For some reason, my speaker.
How many hotels do you have in the pipeline?
We got about 40 hotels in underwriting.
Wow.
How many?
40.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
and when people, I love the way you looked at it, because people were waiting for people to fall apart, and then you come in and take them out. So you're not getting the greatest deals of your life. You're getting pretty well priced deals that you'll be able to improve 10 to 20%, but you're not getting fire sales.
Exactly. Look, I know I'm not in the market to get, Capital make a lot of blanket statements. I'm not going to point names, but they all say, and again, as an industry as a whole, yes, we may not get to full recovery until 2023, 2024, as all the forecasts say. But guess what? There are markets where actually recovery has already happened, right? And it's about finding those hotels so you can buy those at, a 10% discount, but they're well insulated, knowing that I'm going to get back to a yield on cost of a 13, 14, 15 within 24 to 18 months.
Let me ask
that is a yield play, right?
What was the one, being a young person and kind of having 40 hotels in the pipeline, that's even surprising to me, because that's big. When did you jump the shark? When did you go from kind of a mom and pop kind of 2-3 hotels to boom, now you have your own capital company and you're buying 40 hotels all kind of within a year? Like what was that moment? What happened?
So it's a journey like we all have, right? So it just didn't happen overnight. I lost my father at a very young age 10. That propelled me into the business a lot sooner than most. So, started knowing the lay of the land after graduating Berkeley. I, did a lot of commercial real estate advisory for some, national global firms. Then I did some institutional capital. So again, getting experience from the institutional world to see how deals were, done in that realm. But also I had a more global perspective, right? So I opened an office, in India for one of the groups I worked for. I, did deals in Australia, New Zealand, Africa, India. I took the Trump brand to India and built his first 2 branded residences. I mean, I did certain things that gave me a global exposure to hospitality. And when I got back to the US a couple of years ago, I said, there's so much data out there for hospitality, but why are we only using STR? I mean, this makes no sense to me. We're making all our investment decisions based on STR. Guess what? There's so many other variables out there, i.e., OTA insights, net paid rate that Calibri focuses on, right? Then you've got Real Capital Analytics. You have TREP data for CMBS loans. You have, brand.com sort of data to see what's going on, Google searches within cities. I mean, all this data that exists about demand for hospitality, why aren't we using it, right? So that's where we created a big data strategy, and here we are today.
Let me tee you up to talk about that. So one of the things that I haven't heard from a lot of investors is using a lot of modern technology in order to be able to identify the deals. I feel like a lot of it is still as it was 20 years ago, trying to get those off-market deals by making phone calls, having friends, having a couple of cocktails. But now you're bringing all of these different things together and utilizing big data to harness insights that you could never have done looking at spreadsheets and stuff like that. So how did that come to be, and how does that work for you?
Yeah, so think of it this way, right? Instead of we are building a hospitality real estate private equity fund with big tech elements.
Right.
Change our mindset to we are building a modern tech company to disrupt and innovate in the hospitality real estate sector, right? These are two fundamental perspectives to look at what we're doing. So again, working from a clean slate, you're able to build those processes instead of relying on just the old school methods of, say, relationship based, just like you mentioned, right? So is there a way to go to scale? How are tech companies doing guerrilla marketing or lookalike marketing, right? And then adopt those for hotel real estate investments, right? And so that's exactly what we did, right? We said, let's find hotels we want to buy, and then let's proactively market to them ahead of everyone. So it's first mover advantage, right? Because 12 months ago, while people were looking for distress and waiting for that, I was already proactively marketing to folks, knowing they're not going to make a decision to sell because of PPP and forbearance was clouding their judgment. But once the sun shined through and that dried up, i.e. 2021, and there was a vaccine, thank God to the medical community, guess what? Sellers would be sellers.
Right.
Because if they wanted to sell in the first place, right? And so that's exactly what we did to get this sort of mainly off-market pipeline.
So explain to people, without going into too much detail, how do you find and get capital for these projects?
Well, that's the hardest part, right? Because look, a lot of capital always says, Pranav, you've got an institutional sort of check size, right? I mean, 220 million of equity requirement, 550 million of asset value. You know, I obviously need a good co-GP partner for balance sheet strength. So, so I'm doing that as well as the LP side. But you have to make a valid point to these capital guys to convince them that these markets are actually quite favorable. Because from the herd mentality, they're like, no, we want top 25 MSAs, top 50 MSAs. And it's like, well, guess what? The recovery is not happening in the top 25, 50 MSAs. If you want to pay a high basis for a Miami hotel at 600,000, 800,000 a key, because it's at 84% occupancy, I can take you to another market at 100,000 a key, buy a Hampton and doing the same occupancy. So
what do you think of the Tampa market?
I mean, it's the highest performing hotel market, market wide than in the US right now, right? It's at what, 82 or 84%. But am I looking at anything there? No.
No, Glenn knows why I'm smiling.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm legally sanctioned to be able to.
You're not legally sanctioned to say anything.
You're under
let's just put it this way. Let's put it this way. I agree with you.
Right.
So, Pranav, I love your approach. How do you make sure that you have a mindset that opens you up to all of these new possibilities instead of getting stuck in the way that people have always done things, because that's the way they did things?
Yeah, our industry is plagued with what I call dominant logic, right? It's a dominant logic industry. If one person does it, the other person has to do it because it's dominant logic. Right. No one is, and brands are, a big reason for this, I believe. That's why OTAs came in and disrupted the distribution channels, right? And guess what? There's going to be a next thing, which is called digital marketing, ad tech automation for social media, right? Because the next generation are doing all their engagement and discovery through social media. So why aren't hotel companies, what I like to say, putting the right hotel in front of the right eyeball at the right time so we get the right heads in beds? So if there is a ad tech company specifically for hotels that just does just that, I mean, that's a game changer, right? So these are the things that, make me excited, because I don't consider myself a dominant logic type of guy, right? I'm a linear thinker, a design thinker. So Think of it this way, right? My investment thesis the last 10 years or so has been at the intersection of hospitality, real estate, and technology / big data.
Right.
And the magic sauce really is it's about creating systematic and cumulative value between hard assets, i.e. the real estate, the four walls, the hotel, and the debt and equity that sits behind it, and soft assets, the technology that drives what I call E squared, efficiency and effectiveness, not only in top line, but also bottom line, and big data to make wiser investments. So when you look at the world in terms of where can we invest to create systematic and cumulative value, and I have to play both on the hard asset side of the equation and the soft asset side of the equation, because that's how we're really creating that real value stream, right? So that's been my investment thesis, and that's what I have adopted across my various buckets of equity.
But again, listen, you need your own TV show. You take very complicated information and you're able to explain it with enthusiasm, passion, where people that aren't in your field really understand that. What I like to kind of go back to, because your enthusiasm and your ability to communicate, I don't want the viewer or the listener to mistaken that for, this has been tough for you this year to get capital. Talk about that.
Yeah. It's I'm still raising capital, right? We're all raising capital. So it's about educating capital about these types of markets and why this play makes sense, right? They like to hear, okay, so this is my pitch, right? Look, I devised a strategy to do a retail to wholesale strategy, meaning I'm taking the time, energy, and money to build a pipeline of mainly select serve, limited serve, upper mid-scale brands in recovering markets early on in recovery, and creating a portfolio of those so I can exit as a portfolio, hopefully to an institutional capital. Because institutional capital likes to hear that, right? They need a very clear exit. But how do they get comfortable with these tertiary markets, right? That's the biggest problem I'm having, because it's all about educating the capital about these types of markets as being well-insulated plays.
Right. So Pranav, after the lessons that we've learned in the last year and seeing the evidence unfold in real time, people still don't understand that?
No,
it's hard for them to grasp. They're saying, Pranav, top 50 MSAs, right? I said, well, look, what is the path to recovery in the top 25 MSAs today? I have done this exercise. You put a primary market hotel to 3 of the greatest management companies out there, and you say, give me a pro forma. Okay. And guess what? They've been all over the place. And when I say defend top line, i.e., where's the revenue coming from and when and how, they're all over the place because it's so hard to underwrite demand right now. So the path to recovery, I don't have high conviction in primary markets. So you're banking on the fact of buying these at a distress, i.e. 25, 30%, so that you can hit your IRR hurdles only because of capital appreciation on a reversionary value creation. So cap rate compression. So it's a pure real estate play, right? Who knows when that's going to happen, right? There are hotels right now, as you've seen, that are trading at a 5-6 cap. It's crazy. I don't know who's buying those at that cap rate on 2019, but deals are getting done. Resorts are getting done at crazy per key amounts. Again,
Four Seasons, Orlando, Disney World. What, 600,000 a key or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are the cap rates you're looking for right now in markets like you're talking about?
The tertiary, secondary markets, a well-insulated play is about a 9 or a 10 cap on 2019, right?
Explain to people what a 5 or a 9 cap, to tell them how you get to that, because a lot of people don't understand cap rates.
Oh, well, obviously these types of markets are perceived as higher risk because they're tertiary, even though they're supported by a good brand, i.e., a Hampton in a tertiary market that's well located is going to do pretty good. I call them ATM machines, right? And so how do we get to a 9 cap or a 10 cap it's all market driven, right? So investors out there, why primary market stuff is at a 5 and 6 cap, because the lower the cap rate, the perceived risk is less. The higher the cap rate, the perceived risk is more. However, I'm paying a 9 or 10 on a Hampton in a tertiary market that literally I can have a very clear conviction on my underwriting because I already see a path to recovery in the next, say, 6 to 9 months. So where would I put my money? Well, I'd put my money where I can sure bet and I can see in the numbers, i.e. year to date or month to date, on this asset is making money and providing a debt yield of 10% or more. Well, that's a good insulated bet, but we're buying it at a 9 or 10 cap because that's what these assets typically trade for, right?
I want you to know, Pranav, that Anthony is taking a lot of copious notes again on today's show. So that means it's good learning.
No, you know what it is, because you're underlining everything I've been saying in a long time. As far as cap rates, how many people I talk to, they don't understand cap rates. Explain it one more time, that how a lower cap rate, what rate it's at, and with a higher cap rate, what rate it's at, and why that's good. Just explain that one more time, because you talk really fast. You talk faster than me, so people can really understand that, because that's the one thing students and people, even hotel owners, really don't understand, and they don't understand why, depending on what market you're in, what cap rate you're going to buy at. So,
Yeah.
so go a little slower on that.
Yeah. So basically, a capitalization rate or cap rate is the relative risk of the investment, and you times that by the NOI to get to sort of a perceived value.
Yeah, but it times by what you pay for the property.
Exactly.
Right,
would
right.
derive a cap rate that you paid in terms of NOI. So what basically we're getting at is more primary market deals or hotels are more sought after, hence they drive a lower cap rate than more tertiary, secondary markets, which drive a higher cap rate. So economy hotels probably have the highest cap rate out there because, again, the perceived risk, the rate potential is less. And then more primary market stuff can get down to a 2 or 3 cap, right? We've seen that in the last, upturn. So that's sort of how cap rate sort of plays in. But I like looking at deals very holistically. So I would look at it on a cap rate basis, on a EBITDA multiple basis, on market comps in terms of price per key basis, and then obviously a DCF, discounted cash flow, on does it meet my IRR hurdles, right? So I look at all 4 or 5 elements to really come up with why this hotel is valued at X.
Right. What's the highest cap rate? What's the riskiest cap rate you ever bought?
Probably a redevelopment play at about a 12 cap. And then we turned around the asset and sold it for a 7 cap, right? So and that's called cap rate compression. That's how you get that capital appreciation on the back end on your reversionary value, your exit, right? So if you can buy high and sell low, I mean, that's exactly in terms of cap rate, that's the way to go, right?
And one more, I don't mean to keep you as a professor today, but explain people what IRR is.
It's your internal rate of return, which is your time value of money. So it takes into consideration time. So what did you invest today, right? Say negative X. And then what are your cash flows yearly from operations or a capital event, right? Capital event meaning a refinance or a potential exit. And then so your reversionary value, and then you discount those cash flows to get to in terms of what's your weighted average cost of capital, and then you get the IRR of that hotel, and it could be levered IRR or unlevered IRR.
What's so funny? I've been in business 35 years, and I followed you, but it takes me a lot to follow you. So I can imagine you've lost people halfway through.
Listen. I am so completely confused. I thought before this conversation, I thought I knew a lot about things. Now,
no, but what's really important is because I haven't really been on the financing part for a long time, so I got into Tishman and now doing what I'm doing. But so I follow everything you're saying. But the one thing that we've lost, like you went to a great school, you got a great education, you traveled the world, this stuff comes natural to you, like operations comes natural to me. What we need is more people, younger people, whether you work at the front desk, whether you're a general manager for a brand, they need to start getting an education from people like you, not necessarily going to great schools, but just being in the front desk and being in the hotel. It's almost like it should be like our responsibility. That's why I really kind of take people like you and I kind of slow you down, because we've got to really, because I didn't understand this stuff when I was 25, 30, 35, 40. I didn't understand how hotels got bought. And it was a really big problem. Listen, I understand business, but I didn't understand how, and that's why I've been saying for years, hotels aren't built on service. Hotels aren't built on employees. Hotels aren't built on general managers. Hotels are built on a real estate deal. Once the real estate deal is good, then you can either screw it up or you can make it better. But if the real estate deal is bad, it's a bad deal, and the employees suffer, the general manager suffers, the owner suffers. And that's kind of why I think your knowledge is more important to me than learn how to clean a room.
And I the best GMs in my experience have been the ones that also know the value of real estate. So what I try to do is correlate, hey GM, if you drive X of flow through or bottom line NOI, guess what? That adds X amount of value to our real estate, and you should be, and because you're doing that day in and day out, you should be somewhat compensated, right, for that what I call asset value enhancement, right? Because the front level staff, the GMs, your revenue manager, your director of sales, they're all in the business of creating top line revenue and then operational efficiencies to get us a bottom line, i.e. NOI, that we're going to capitalize on to get a value of the real estate. So guess what? It goes hand in hand, right? And I love what Bob Alter always used to tell me, and I'll say it because it deals with this. There is no return on capital until there is a return of capital, right? So that's very important for a lot of the guys looking to invest, right, in real estate.
Yeah, and Bob Alter is, of course, a industry icon, luminary, big investor. Sunstone Hotel Investors is how.
So say that again. Say that quote again. That's a great quote. Everybody should write it down.
So this all goes to credit to Bob, of course. So there is no return on capital until there's a return of capital. Meaning,
I'm going to write that down myself.
Meaning, when we take other people's money to invest, let's not talk about what the returns could be until we have a rock solid plan on how we're going to return their capital first, right? And then we have a return on capital once we do an ROC, return of capital, right? So always in a capital strategy of an asset, that I always look at how am I going to be able to return my LP capital in the most efficient and effective manner. You'll hear me say this a lot, E squared, efficiency and effectiveness. Everything we do must have E squared, right? So, and I clearly articulate that, how we're going to drive capitalization or yield on each step of ownership in terms of operations or exit or CapEx. But then how am I going to return your capital the quickest and most efficiently, right?
Right. Makes sense. Man, Pranav, this has been amazing.
Make sure you buy the hotel at a good cap rate. That's a quick way of doing it.
Yeah.
A better way of doing it.
And, today, I'll add one more thing if I can, right? Yeah. We all know where replacement cost is today. It is insane. But lumber is 200% higher. Timber is also getting high, is now creeping up. Any input cost, I'm building 4 hotels with my family right now, anywhere from an element to an even with IHG. So, input costs are so insane right now that when you look at a deal, I don't care what you say, the replacement cost of that hotel has gone up by 20 to 40% during this sort of COVID, because subs have gone out to go build multifamily or single family residential. Then you have lumber demand because most of that is stick build, right? Multifamily and single family. So lumber is up. Guess what? On a lot of the hotels we build, these 3-4 story hotels, is stick, right? So, to build a courtyard today is $200,000 a key, no matter what, right? And that's cost today. So if I can buy a courtyard for $120,000 a key, that's already has cash flows in place. To me, that's a good deal.
Yeah, makes sense. Anthony, I don't know how you're feeling, but I'm thinking we got to get Pranav back for like an investing 101 type of show.
I absolutely think, and I hope you teach a lot, my friend, because people need your brain, because usually your brain comes in with a person that talks like this. So what you need to do on IRR and cap rate is this. And no one wants to listen to that guy. You got your brain with my enthusiasm.
Thank you, Anthony. I'm trying to get into, be maybe an adjunct professor at NYU. So let's see. I'm on the list. I'm on the list.
If they don't hire you, I don't know who the hell they're hiring, because I don't get impressed by people anymore. And you're an impressive individual.
I didn't realize you're an East Coast guy. I'm a former adjunct professor over at NYU.
Okay.
And if they let Glenn in, they'll let anybody in.
Yeah. I snuck there for a couple of years before they figured out who I was.
Where are you working out of right now? Where are you right now?
No, so I'm in San Francisco right now. So I'm based in San Francisco.
The hotel market in San Francisco, will it ever come back?
Oh my, don't get me started, Anthony. I can, in my condo, I overlook the Salesforce Tower, which is the most iconic building in San Francisco, the newest high rise. And it just kills me to see that building empty, and then Salesforce saying, hey, 10,000 workers, you don't have to come back. Right. And then I go to my banh mi sandwich guy who works out of a little window, has been there for 15 years. And he's saying, Pranav, if these people don't come back, I can't survive, right? And so these tech companies, even though we have a saturation of them and they are able to, work from home or whatever, guess what? The social fabric of a city is reliant on people, just like our business is, hospitality. So we need people to come back, especially when vaccination rates are so high. Yep. It's time to get people back into urban core CBDs. Health contingency is in place, obviously. And let's build this social fabric back, right?
I can't agree more. I think New York, when people said New York, I'm not worried about New York. New York is going to be fine. We've been through cycles before, but places like San Francisco scare me a little bit because they don't have as much tourism and international tourism from Europe as we do. We had 63 million visitors in 2019 in New York. I mean, San Francisco is probably what, 12 million?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And I was there actually. Last time I was in San Francisco, Salesforce was having their convention. I was at the St. Francis Hotel. Yeah. And it should have been called Salesforce California, not San Francisco, California.
San Francisco, 26.2 million visitors in 2019.
Right. So that's a third of New York.
Yeah, exactly. So there's just a lot of tech saturation, but these tech companies are the ones that are able to do the work from home. So unless they put some mandates in to say, let's come back, it's going to be a long path to recovery for San Francisco.
Well, if they sell that, if Salesforce sells that building, San Francisco's got a problem because that means all those jobs aren't coming back.
Oh, exactly. So a lot of people I know that had leases at Salesforce did not renew. So there are issues going on with that. But that's the most iconic building here. And what's going on, right? It's sad.
San Francisco, to me, is the most concerning of all the markets. Okay, guys.
All right, we're going to wrap this up. Pranav, how can people find you? How can people learn more about you?
You can go to my LinkedIn is probably the best, Pranav R. Bhakta, and shoot me a private message. And I'm pretty good with LinkedIn. So that's the best way to probably get a hold of me.
Beautiful.
Okay. Or meet you at that window of the sandwich shop.
Oh yeah. Okay. Let's go grab a bami, right? It's been so great. Last week, I had a dinner meeting and signed a term sheet with one of these tech-enabled operating partners, and we're creating a PropCo vertical for this tech-enabled operating partner. We want to start investing in the real estate, right? So we're doing a co-GP fund together, and we had dinner and we signed the term sheet live, right? We didn't do it through DocuSign or anything. It was, hey, let's do it the old-fashioned way. So
I shook somebody's hand and did a deal in 4.5 minutes, like 6 weeks ago, and it was the best 4.5 minutes the deal without any due diligence, because like you just said about the markets. Listen, if you know, and you didn't get all this knowledge overnight. I didn't get all this knowledge overnight. I can look at a property without a star report, without all the analysis, and make a decision usually within 10 minutes. I mean, I just need to look at the P&L, and I need to look at the property. I need to know the market. And in 10 minutes, I can tell you if it's a deal or not a deal. And then we can settle on the price. But you really can't take away all those years of just your computer, man. I mean, I can look at computers, but my computer, it's a system. And when you've seen so many people make so many bad deals over the years, because again, I know we got to wrap up, but most hotels, not most, but a lot of hotels have been bought on the want to be in the hotel business. And it's so cool. And oh my God, my friend makes so much money in this 100-room hotel, this Hampton Inn. I got to get in. Okay. Right. And then they go and say, oh, Hampton's too expensive and the brand's too expensive and they want too much. And the third parties, I'm going to go buy this other crap hotel and I'm going to run it. I'm going to do just as well. And that's where I've seen so many people. That's where I've made a nice living for the last 10 years as a consultant to those people. But anyway, it was a pleasure. Please throw your cell number for me in the comments. So there it is. And so I have it, but I will be touching base with you. Thank you so much and look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
So, banh mi sandwich is the tastiest thing to come out of colonialism, I think. French, the best of Vietnamese, good. I love those.
When a guy like that, he has so much energy and so much passion, but he also, again, working with Tishman, working with finance guys in the end of my kind of career in running hotels.
Yep.
Most of those guys don't talk like that. They're boring, and you don't want to learn. Like I want to take his class. I hope he's able to go to NYU because I want to take his class.
Yeah, dude. I'll tell you something. I had this pre-call with him to suss him out, see if he'd be good for the show. I'm like, this guy's gonna be freaking perfect.
Yeah.
He's got it.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a lot of information to distill here. So one best way in order to be able to get it all is why not listen to the audio version of the show if you're not doing that already. And of course, find the audio versions on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, of course, No Vacancy News, and anywhere that you prefer to get your downloadable audio only podcast. Of course, connect with Anthony and myself at Anthony Hotels, at Traveling Glenn, all that kind of good stuff. Anthony, any final words before we depart today?
I dropped my favorite pen. Nothing. Thank you so much. And we got to spend more time together, my friend, outside the show.
Yeah, I know. We must do that. But we've been kind of busy the last couple of weeks.
Our producer, Dave, said, last reminder, special episode Friday. What's our special episode?
Pre-recorded. I did a great show with Brian King. He's the president of Marriott from the Caribbean and Latin America, as well as Jürgen Stutz with Sunwing Travel. They're over a $3 billion company. They formed this incredible partnership for all-inclusive resorts in the Caribbean and Latin America, places like Mexico, Costa Rica, all sorts of cool stuff. They own Planet Hollywood brand, for example, down there. So really great conversation about why we all love all-inclusive and why people are flocking to those.
But the most important part of that is I don't have to do anything, right?
No, it's already done. It's already recorded. Boom. So stick around. That'll run at 12 o'clock on noon. While we can't get your comments, it should be a great show. Stick around for that. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next time. Remember, you've got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
yeah, see you tomorrow.